Everyone says how horrible it will be to renovate or build your house. We're here to say it doesn't have to be that way. Join 3 seasoned architects as they interview homeowners who recently completed a large project and ask them one simple question. What do you know now that you wish you knew before you started? Welcome to Home, the Second Story podcast.
Hi, and welcome to a snack-size episode of Home, the Second Story. I'm Marilyn Modinger from Runcible Studios, located in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and Boston, Massachusetts. And today I'm with
Sherry Scott with Springhouse Architects in Cincinnati, Ohio.
And I am Taylor Davis with TPD Architecture and Design in Birmingham, Alabama.
All right, well, let's dive in. So today we are talking about a topic that we've heard a lot of people over the years need some help with, and it is selecting the right builder. So whether you work with an architect or not, how you do your project, who's the designer, all that stuff. Okay, but you need the builder. Who's actually building it?
Yeah, so one thing that I talk to my clients about a lot is who you start with, right? Do you start with the architect or designer, or do you start with the builder? And I've found that it's geographically different. So in my area, a lot of people actually start with the builder. They will go through a model home, something to that effect, or a homeorama, which is our kind of parade of homes here in the Midwest.
Homeorama.
And
I'm going to use that.
Homeorama.
Homeorama.
We have Parade of Homes. Homeorama is way more fun.
Yeah. Way more fun.
So they'll go in and they'll meet this builder one time on a walkthrough and have 10 minutes with them and just think, well, he's a nice guy and it was a nice house and I think I'll hire him to build my $1 million house, right? And we need to go a little bit deeper than that. And that's the source of a lot of problems that I see is when people jump into bed with the builder a little too fast.
Yeah, exactly. I would agree with that. So I'm in 2 markets in Boston. Most of the time people are coming to the architect first. And because usually what they do is if they're doing a renovation, which is most of my work in Boston, because most of Boston's already built already. So they'll try to figure out what's the first step in their project. They might call the building department or look up if they need a permit. The very first thing that happens is we need drawings. So they will approach the architect first. So a lot of times something that we do for our clients anywhere we're working is we help people through the builder selection process. And part of what that entails is, so obviously I think you guys are the same. You have builders you've worked with over the years. So you have sort of a list of folks that have done great work for your clients in the past. And that's actually a really great asset that architects have. So I can say, this guy's done 10 projects with me, with 10 clients, and here they are on my website. Here's the client's glowing reviews. This is not a 10-minute conversation with a stranger. This is a guy who has done really great work for my clients in the past. That really helps give my clients peace of mind. And even when we're comparing, which you should always compare still, that is a really important step in the vetting process.
We get it sort of architect first, builder first. A lot of times if it's a renovation, they've already worked with a builder before. So they call that builder and the builder says, well, you probably ought to call somebody for this one. It's a little less cut and dried. And especially because for single family here in Alabama, nobody requires an architect to be on the project. So it's kind of a hodgepodge. But I'll say this. One of the things that is the most important in the selection process is actually when you make that selection, because the information that you have is going to be more important or more fresh or more urgent in your mind, depending on where you are in the process. And that was kind of a convoluted way of saying our experience, and I think y'all probably too, has been that selecting a builder early in the process and not on a numbers basis can sometimes yield what Ava Abramovitz, who was my professional practice teacher, but I've recently gotten back in touch with her, calls front-end alignment. And because if you're on the same page with a builder, if you've selected them early in the process, if you've gone through whatever process you need to go through to find them, they can help you align your scope and your budget from the get-go, as opposed to waiting and selecting somebody based on a hard number that they're giving you with a bid. And when you get that bid and what's constituted in that bid and whether that's an apples to apples bid, that's all good questions. And there's certainly a good process that can go along with that. But we have found, and we encourage our clients to select a builder with like an RFQ, like a qualifications process, very early before you even have drawings to price. You may have a scope set so they kind of know, what the project is going to be and how long it's going to take them. But we encourage clients, and I know y'all do this too, to ask them questions like, how long do you think this is going to take? Can you give me 5 references of people that you've worked with on projects like this before? And I encourage them to call them, find out, did the job go over budget? By how much? Why? And then some people have things that they really want their builders to do. We had one client who was like, I'm out of town a bunch, but I really want my builder to be comfortable with my dog and feeding my dog in the morning. So that was a question we asked the builders, at the very beginning of the project before. And if somebody was like, heck no, that's not what we do. Well, we could cross them off the list and it was no harm, no foul. And nobody had invested a lot of time in putting together a set of numbers. It's an interview process. So that's a really convoluted way of saying that, and our experience has been that alignment at the beginning of a project, figuring out and getting that team together from the get-go, as opposed to making a selection based on numbers when the pressure is to select somebody that is the least expensive.
Yeah, I agree, Taylor. There was a lot in there, but
yeah, it was a totally lot. And I didn't know quite how to say that in a snack, but that was...
No, it all came together. And I totally agree. I mean, touching on the timing piece of it, we do the same thing. So what we recommend when people do come to us first as the architect, they come in and one of the questions we ask is, do you already have a builder? Have you already talked to someone? Have you worked with someone before? And we start kind of educating them of, okay, yes, you do have a builder, but the project that they did for you before may not be similar to the project you're asking them to do now. Could they be qualified? Yes, but let's broaden that scope. Let's open it up to other people. Like Marilyn said, we'll have people that we have worked with before. If they don't have anyone, I always encourage the client to find someone through their network, through their friends and family. Find one on your own that we can talk to. Number one, because I don't want to be the one that brings one builder to the table and say, right, this is the guy for you.
Yeah.
Because it may not be.
We don't do that.
We don't do that.
We don't know.
We're not supposed to. My insurance guy's like, don't do that, because we don't actually recommend builders. We just say, these are the guys who have done good work for us in the past.
Mm-hmm. And the timing aspect, doing it early. I agree.
Yes.
I think the world has changed in our profession, where it used to be we would select everything, get a whole set of construction documents done, be ready for permit, and then solicit bids from 3 builders. That has all turned upside down, I think, for the better. So now we do a preliminary design, is what we call it. Some people call it schematic design. And once we have that, then we take that. So you have something on paper to go and sit in front of the builder and put out on the table and say, what's your timeline for something like this? Have you done something like this before? What's kind of a ballpark range of price that we're looking at? And from those 3 questions, we can quickly eliminate or say, okay, let's talk a little bit more. Let's walk down this road together a little bit more. And through 2, maybe 3 interviews, you get a sense of who you can work well with. After calling their references, of course, that's one of the big downfalls people do. They don't want to do that work and call the references. But Taylor, you're right. Asking them, my big question I would ask builders is, how did they finish your project? Because finishing is the hardest.
That's the hardest
stage.
part. Yeah.
It's so hard. And just to find out, how did they finish? Did it wrap up quickly? Did they keep lists? Did they keep you informed? Or did it kind of drag out and got a bunch of excuses and like pulling teeth to get the subs back? That's a big a big question that I try to direct people to. And yes, doing it early in the process.
I mean, I agree with what you guys are saying. Unsurprisingly, we're pretty aligned on this because we've seen the results of when it goes right and when it goes wrong.
Yes.
And when, Sherry, you just said people are not willing to do the work of calling the references. I'm like, you are about to spend the most money on anything you buy, right? A renovation or a new home is pretty much for most people the most expensive thing that they're ever going to buy. And you're going to do that after a 10-minute conversation with the builder because he has a good handshake? Like,
right.
No, we're
right.
not doing
exactly.
that. That's foolhardy. It does not mean that you have to be suspicious or unkind or whatever. So I used to be a project manager at a general contractor. I used to be a construction estimator. And I'm going to put that hat on for a second and say from the other side, what made it, when I was the one getting selected, right? Like what?
Yeah, that's great.
So first of all, I want to say that people should trust their gut. So yes, check references. Yes, do the work, but also you are picking up all kinds of nonverbal cues. Does the builder look in your eye? Do they have that firm handshake? I know I just made that joke, but like that matters. Are they respecting what you're saying? Are they listening to you? Are they just responding to your questions with something that feels like a rote response? Or are they really listening and taking it in and working with you on a response? So it's your intuition is collecting all this information, and that takes a couple of interviews, as you're saying, Sherry. So people's body language and that kind of thing, which leads me to another thing. So when I was learning how to be a project manager and estimator, my boss at the contractor's company, he said, you have to tell the client you want the job. You have to, have to want to do the job because it's going to make you do a better job as a contractor. And if you're sort of against some other builders in a bidding process, you have to, and it's someone's home. You're about to engage with them in a process that's highly personal, that's deeply complex and requires a lot of communication. You have to want to do it. So from the flip side, if you're interviewing builders and they seem laissez-faire, they seem like, or this is what we always do and whatever, you're just a number, then that's not good. And then the flip side of that is true. So the other big thing I always say is, if your builder is telling you exactly what you want to hear,
yes,
that is not good.
Right.
So if you say, I want to build a new home and I want it to be 10,000 square feet and I want an indoor pool and I want all this stuff and I want to build it for $20,000. And your builder says, well, it's going to be tough, but we'll figure out a way.
I think we can do that. Right.
Yeah. No. So, and obviously I'm using a silly example, but if your builder that means your builder is going to do that to you the whole time and not tell you the actual facts. So sometimes guys I say guys, I was a contractor. I'm not a guy.
I know. I
always do that. I don't know. One of the guys, whatever, will try to just please the owner to get the job, to get in the door, to lowball it, to tell them what they want to hear, to get in the door. You do not want to work with someone like that. We've all been down that road. And so it's as an owner, as a homeowner, you do have to like be ready for some news that may not be precisely what you wanted to hear, but in the end will be the information you need to make better decisions.
Well, and you need to know that it's false, right? And most clients don't know what they don't know, which we've heard over and over in this podcast, interviewing guests. And that is one thing that we can bring to the table is we'd walk away from that meeting and say, that didn't sound right to me. Like those allowances they put in that list, that's not realistic from what you are actually wanting. And you need someone to know that. And if you, as the client, if you know that, you've done so much research that you know how much your countertops for the entire house should cost, and they're giving you a realistic number, that's great. But most people don't know that.
No.
And so they just kind of trust their builder and they say, okay, you gave me a $5,000 allowance for countertops. That sounds like a lot. Well, it's not. That is not even close.
That's for your vanity in the half bath.
Yes. And that's how they get in. in that price range that you want. And then all of a sudden you're in the build, you're married, and they say, oh, I didn't know you didn't want laminate countertops. Well, yeah, that's going to be 40 grand, not
Well, and
not
that goes
five.
back to the like select your builder before you, we encourage them not to select a builder build based on price at all. Like none of
Right.
we only have one person, one GC do preliminary pricing. And generally that has worked really well. There have been a couple of hiccups in places where people's expectations were off, but what we've found, especially in a smaller market, and that's probably not true in Boston, but in a smaller market like this, there's a limited number of subs. They're all using a lot of the same guys. You're going to get what you get regardless. It's going to cost the same regardless of who you use. The issue is going to be how it's going to get done, whether you like the people that are in your house and in your
Right.
business and you showing up in a bathrobe in the morning and all of a sudden they're there ready to get started. You have to like these people and trust these people. And that's why that interview process and doing it without the pressure of numbers, I think is so critical, particularly for residential, because it is not transactional. It is personal. It is up in everybody's business, up in everybody's lives for like a year. You know, like you got to like those people and trust them.
I agree. And I'm going to put a slight counterpoint because we do use cost to help us determine. I've had situations where the builders sort of all think that because where the house is or who they think the client is, that they think that they can just skate with a high number, or they're not understanding the project. So they're either overcharging or undercharging for key things. And this is probably coming from my background in estimating. I kind of can't stand it. And we'll do another episode where we dive into how to compare estimates and how to compare budgets and costs and all.
Yeah.
That's a whole other topic. But just to say in a short way that I do think it is actually important. I am always looking for my clients to feel the enthusiastic yes. Whether that is the builder they chose, the tile they chose, the way we're doing the project, like I want them to feel really good about it, because as we get through the project, things get tough. And so if you are leaning on like a wobbly yes, you're going to start doubting yourself. So when there's only one price and there's nothing to compare it to, in my experience, the owners always have it in the back of their mind, especially in a competitive market like Boston, that they could have gotten a better deal. So my job is to coach people to do that just enough to get reassurance. Because there are guys that will be twice as expensive in Boston.
Yeah.
There just are. And there will be in central Pennsylvania where I am here. I have seen it. So what I want to be sure is that the clients have that sense of security that, yes, we've done our homework. We're not hard bidding it. We're not doing a closed bid. We're not doing that level of formality. We're doing it on that early set that you were describing, Sherry. And we pick a horse and then we go. But we do want that gut check price, not only to choose the builder, but also to ensure that our design is pointed in the right direction. We want to be sure that we're also not going down a design road that, even though we have a good idea of prices, some things are surprising, and we want to be sure that we get that early gut check.
Right.
So,
and that gut check is important. I think that's a market thing too. Like depending on what market you're in, if you've got a huge market or a big market, you know, around here, it's going to be the same 5 to 10 builders that are doing that work. So at least in our market. So I think there is a little bit of the size of the market and how many builders are available to you to select from.
and personality. So
Yeah.
if an owner is, and this is where I have to pull back on owners where they get like really nickel and dimey and they're like, well, but this one said countertops were 10,000. This one said it was 9,500. And I'm like, this is a preliminary, like there's no,
Right.
like just stop.
We're
just
not
stop.
holding them to it. Yeah.
Set your pencil down. Like what we're looking for is, does someone grasp the concept of the project? Are we within plus or minus 10 or 15%? Like that's what we're looking at here. So
Yeah. I think we need to wrap this up, but I do want to say one last point is to ask the builder if they will bid alternate subs against each other. I mean, that's bad language to
that's
use,
part of our
but just a quick example, we have a project and this is, the numbers are crazy, I know, but we're doing this huge front door that's double doors, like 10 feet by, I think it's 15 feet tall, which is a very custom door. So the builder went to the custom door builder that he usually uses, got a bid of literally $100,000, got him down to $80,000, went to a more commercial custom door builder, and they said $30,000. So like these prices can be everywhere, and you need to make sure that this builder is willing, when you get a number that's like, that doesn't sound right, will they go to somebody else?
And is on your side, working for you to get that number to make sense. Because that's ultimately what you want, is someone who's on your side who's building your house. All right. Well, thank you for joining us today on Home, the Second Story for a quick snack. Questions for us or topics you'd like to see us cover? Or are you interested in being a guest? Please reach out at admin@htsspodcast.com, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening to Home, the Second Story podcast. Feel free to share this episode with a friend. Contact information for all three of our architects are in our show notes. And don't miss future episodes. Follow or subscribe to our show for free in Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you're listening right now.